NBA insider from Bally Sports, Brandon Scoopy Robinson, kind enough to join us over this holiday. Scoopy, I hope you're enjoying it. I think you're traveling, and I appreciate you making time for us. How's your 4th going?
Man, it's been amazing. I had to step out. I had a dinner reservation at 10, but I had to make sure that I took care of my guys at Mad Dog Radio, and I've enjoyed myself in Mexico. So thank you, as always.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you so much for doing that. That's real nice dedication. I appreciate it. Are you decompressing after Thursday, Friday of last week? That had to be one of the busiest days, the toughest days to track NBA, all those extensions, rookie extensions, free agent movement, and now we're still waiting on Kevin Durant. How you been handling all this?
So it's crazy enough, getting in at Mexico for my vacation. My phone was blown up because I was traveling on Thursday, and I got a call from a colleague of mine, and he said, yo, Kevin Durant requested the trade. And, when you travel across the country, you got to kind of get your phone to recalibrate from American to, just being in another country and more. So, I did get the news just like everybody else. In this moment, I was a fan. However, putting on my Big J journalism hat, I did some digging over the course of hanging out with my 2 best friends and hanging out and partying and, doing my due just. I am off until the 10th. However, I did place a couple of calls. And here's what I came away with specifically with both Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving. One, I'm told that both of them have not necessarily been in conversation with the Brooklyn Nets. They've been pretty quiet. They are not working in tandem. So I've placed a few calls, and here's what I got. Number one, on the Kyrie Irving side, I'm told from a very reliable source that Kyrie, if he is moved to the Nets, has a preference to be in the NBA's Western Conference.
Okay, yeah, and a lot of people are saying the Lakers. So what would you think after that source now, if it was going to be the Lakers or the Clippers, how they pulled this deal off? Because everybody thinks the Lakers are handcuffed and in jail because they have to pay that Russell Westbrook contract, which is an albatross.
So if you go back to my reporting as a Monday morning right before Kyrie Irving did make his opt-in in his player option complete, I was basically, zeroing in on the relationship with the Los Angeles Clippers, looking at the relationship with Ty Lue. Some folks felt that his relationship with Ty Lue in Cleveland was kind of not where it needs to be. I'm told that he lists Ty Lue as one of his favorite coaches in Cleveland, as well as David Blatt, as well as Byron Scott. But as it relates specifically to your question about the Los Angeles Lakers, here's what I was told. Those who are familiar with Kai's thinking I've heard that that is more of a Lakers manufactured, I guess, doctrine, if you will. That is more of the Lakers wish list that is Kyrie's at this present time. And just in conversation with people who know best, I will tell you that they were pretty annoyed with the Nets and just how things were handled, whether it was the opt-in, opt-out, and all of the things considered. And, there's some people that are very disgruntled in how they've handled him, specifically because he is the person who really got Kevin Durant to join the Brooklyn Nets with him. A guy from West Orange, New Jersey, a stone's throw from Manhattan, not too far from Brooklyn. But, I know that the Sean Marks portion of it, as well as, first and foremost, Kai was doing the GM work as it relates to getting, Kevin to come. And then once Kevin got there, he's the one who got Andre Drummond to come. And then here's some other factors. I know that someone who is tied to Eli Carter, a guy that knows Kyrie well, he was let go because of the whole vaccination portion of it. And then I'm told was promised that he could get a coaching, resume his assistant coaching situation once the mandates were what they were in New York City, no such dice. In addition to that, Kevin Durant's shooting coach, Adam Harrington, was let go from the Brooklyn Nets. And I know that those two gentlemen are upset about how that was handled. Personally, just from my reporting around Kyrie Irving and being around that whole group since 2013 and knowing Kevin Durant, even covering him exclusively once he got his MVP award when he was a member of the Oklahoma City Thunder, just doing my homework, I think that the Nets and Kyrie Irving, as well as Kevin Durant, need to do a better job of communicating. And also, I think that there could be some level of reconciliation going on. I know on Twitter, I've got people talking, JT, just about 48 hours and, that they needed to get it together. I know that there's been a halt on that specifically because the Nets are gathering more information, and Kyrie and Kevin Durant have been very, very silent. I do know also this. I do know that the Nets and the Toronto Raptors have had some level of interest in this whole ordeal. Specifically, I got this in my phone the other day. That's why I called you from my landline, because I want to make sure I let my phone be available to you. I spoke to someone via text yesterday that shared that the Raptors are interested in a massive package for KD, which would include Scottie Barnes and 4 unprotected first-round picks included in that offer. I spoke to Scottie Barnes during the NBA Finals. I was traveling back and forth between San Francisco and Boston. He really likes this situation in Toronto. So I'm hoping that, there's some sort of resolution with the Nets, Kyrie and KD, and even Ben Simmons, because they didn't really give a chance to run it back. I saw some numbers the other day, or rather today, which indicated that Vince Carter and Hakeem Olajuwon, during their brief partnership in Toronto, spent more time there than Kyrie, KD, and James Harden together. I think that the Nets, specifically as constructed with Ben Simmons, as well as Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving, owe it to the Nets fan base to run it back one more time. I mean, this is a team, seriously, that was a toes chance close of going to the conference finals against maybe the Atlanta Hawks. And I really just think that there are a lot of things together. But it's not just Kyrie. I know he's blamed a lot. I think that Steve Nash and Sean Marks really legitimately need to look in the mirror and not just be a Kyrie situation, not just a Kevin situation, not just a Ben Simmons situation. You saw that Ben Simmons deleted his Instagram account the other day. Mental health is something that he's really been, somewhat cryptically discussing for a while. It triggers him. And so I really do think that the Nets, Kyrie, Ben, Steve Nash, as well as Sean Marks, need to figure this out, as well as Kevin Durant.
Scoop B Robinson joins us. Follow him at Scoop B. You can find him on Twitter, and also go check him out on Instagram. To the Warriors, do you give that any credibility, the potential, because they have the easier assets to do the deal, because they have lottery picks on the bench who aren't getting on the floor. They'll have the picks, and they got good players to pick from. I think it would be embarrassing for Durant. You know Durant, I don't. Would Durant be embarrassed or want to go back to Golden State if there was an opportunity there?
I spoke. Well, let me take a step back. First of all, I want to give Marcus Thompson over in San Francisco kudos for scooping that situation. I know it was really started by my big brother Mark Spears over at Anscape ESPN, who was talking about to keep your eye open on that. I always felt that the Warriors, as well as the Phoenix Suns, would be definitely viable options in that regard. I think people have talked about Damian Lillard kind of using social media to recruit. I do think that the Portland Trailblazers do have something of that they're building, specifically adding Anthony Simons for a long-term deal, and as well as Damian Lillard and some of the other pieces. But realistically, when I look at the Warriors situation, Jay-Z is my favorite rapper, and there's a line in a song, I believe it was Party Life. He said, once you're used to filet mignon, you don't go back to hamburger helper. And
nicely
so I
said.
Do you get that reference there?
I did. I got it in a big way. And look, here's the problem as we continue this conversation. The really crux of this conversation is, what if Durant doesn't like the trade? He's under contract for 4 years. Do the Nets have the stones to look Durant in the eye and say, get the hell out of here? You're under contract for 4 years. We're moving you. We know you might not want to be in Toronto. You don't want to be in Memphis. You don't want to be in Utah. But we got an unbelievable deal. If they got a deal like Utah and Danny Ainge did to unload Rudy Gobert, Durant could blank and moan only once about the deal, but the Nets can clear him off the books and get the rebuilding package that they want. What would Durant say?
Well, Toronto, I'll say number one, is a team that Kevin Durant did watch specifically. I had this conversation with Tracy McGrady a couple months ago. I think as much as many people paid attention to the greatness that was Kobe Bryant, God rest his soul, as much as people paid attention to Michael Jordan and others, Penny Hardaway and Tracy McGrady kind of gets lost in that translation quite a bit. And I'll say this to you. Aside from that portion of just the admiration, Toronto's not a bad city. I know years ago, my reporting goes back to 97, hosting a radio show called Nets Lemon Planet with Evan Roberts and retired Nets legend. Albert King. And I remember during that time, Kenny Anderson was I think he was going from Portland to Toronto or from Boston to Toronto. I don't remember the logistics of it, but I remember Kenny Anderson essentially did not want to go to Boston because he complained about the taxes being too high. I remember Kendall Gill, back during my Nets covering days, he was rumored to be going to Toronto, and he talked about just the taxes being a little too high. It's a different era in the NBA now, and there's ways to utilize your residency in other states, in the United States, just like LeBron and others on the Miami Heat utilize Miami for their tax purposes. So I think Toronto is intriguing, I'll say. I know that last season Pascal Siakam was discussed and potential moves elsewhere. But I do think that this situation is going to be fluid. I don't think it's a quick fix today. I don't think it's a quick fix tomorrow. I'd like to enjoy the fireworks this evening, maybe listen to a little Barry Manilow or listen to a little Frank Sinatra, and maybe get back to the drawing board on Tuesday morning and see where we are. But again, I will say this to you. I would like to see the Nets perform as well as Kyrie and KD, some sort of reconciliation. They owe it to the fans.